Hello. We're going to see if this goes a little bit better the second time. I mean, it's not that it went terrible the first time, it's just that the first time nobody, minus my mother, showed up to it. I'm not necessarily expecting a whole lot better this time around, but we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get lucky and more people will pay attention. Maybe I won't. I don't know. At least I have Brenda here to keep me company. Brenda, are you going to keep me company? She's like, I have a toy. It's for chewing. Yeah, I know. She just got a WALK, so she's happy. Um, um, so it's at least warmer out than the last time I tried this. The last time I think I tried this, I think it was below freezing. It may have been below zero. The last time that I did this. Today, it's actually gotten a lot better outside. The last several days here in Nebraska have been a lot better in regards to weather. I mean, we had a fair amount of gloom for like 2 or 3 days, but now it's much better. Today is at least much nicer outside, and yesterday was pretty good too. I don't know, since there's no one in the chat yet, and I'm not necessarily sure if anyone will show up. We'll find out. First of all, if whoever pops up in the chat, just make sure you just tell me if I sound too loud or too quiet, and I'll try to adjust anything from there as it goes. Let me think. I dropped my computer bag on my foot last night. That hurt. That's about the extent of the exciting things that happened with me over the last couple of days. Beyond, of course, reading the One Piece chapter and whatever else. I've been binging a bunch of anime lately, a bunch of different anime. I went through like everything they had on Crunchyroll and marked everything that looked interesting to me. And I watched a couple of them. I started like 2 of them, and I'm like, okay, this is not for me. They weren't bad; they just really weren't for me. Like concept didn't quite click with me. Again, not a bad show, just not for me. There were several that I got all the way through, or at least all the way through the first season. I don't know if they're going to have a second one. The one that I know that is still going on is the Apothecary Diaries, which I really liked. And that one still has a few more episodes to come out, I believe. So I'll be watching those when they come out. And of course, I'm trying to keep up on the One Piece, both the Japanese dub now that we're in Egghead, so I can keep up on that and try to keep up on the English dubs as they come out with Wano. I'll have to check those again soon to see if they've gotten any more that are up. I don't know. I'm rambling to myself, and at least with a regular video, I at least have a topic to start with. I don't really have a topic for this one. I guess I could talk a little bit more about some of my thoughts from the last chapter from 1000 and 1105 before we start getting some more of the some spoilers for 1106. Yeah, I think I basically said who I think could be the people showing up, or could be the they that were referred to by the Marines that are on their way to Egghead Island. I mean, I don't think it would be the revolutionaries. I mean, like, yes, they would help the people that are on the scientists and the historians and whatever else would have been on the researchers and everything like that would have been on that would have been on the ship leaving Egghead, the evacuation ship, but they're on the other side of the other side of the red line right now and still trying to figure out where the heck Kuma went. They haven't gotten the Morning Post yet, apparently. But there's not that many options for who it could be. I mean, in regard, you got Shanks, you got the red-haired crew in there. I see at least one person's watching. That's probably my mother. If not, whatever. Whoever's the person watching this, it's not my mom. Hi. But for who could be the ones that could be on their way to Egghead in that regard that could have attacked the Navy ship. I mean, the red-haired pirates are kind of the top of the list. Cross Guild, definitely. Oh my God, the person watching is not my mom. Hi, Fernando. I have a comment that's not my mother on a live stream. Yay! Yes, I'm a dork. I am aware of this. Um, um, out of curiosity, since I guess Fernando's the one in the chat right now, are you from the United States, or are you from outside the United States? Country, state, however that works. If you want to post, if you don't, that's fine. If that's not something you want to answer, I perfectly understand. In regards to, like, I can't think of who else it would be that would be able to show up. I mean, like, the God's Knight showing up at this really wouldn't make sense because I already have Saturn there. Oh, you're from Chile. Okay, well, how's the weather down there? If I'm remembering my global summers correctly, you guys are in summer right now since we're in winter. I also don't remember. I've been paying a lot of attention to some of the political unrest that's going on in other areas of the world. I don't know if there's any political unrest going on in Chile right now. I don't think so, but I could be wrong on that one. Again, if I'm rambling about something that I have no idea about, please let me know and I will attempt to stop. But I'm hoping you at least have good weather in Chile right now. I guess it depends on where in Chile you are. If you're more toward the southern tip, maybe not so much. But I can't think of who else it would be that could be on their way to Egghead Island right now. I mean, like, hopefully it's someone that can help the Straw Hats. It's the other Blackbeard pirates. That's definitely not a good thing. They definitely would have attacked the Marine ship, but they wouldn't have tried to, like, save the evacuation ship from Egghead. If it was the red-haired pirates, probably would have helped save them. Cross Guild, maybe. Crocodile might try to blackmail them into, like, helping him or something. But I can't think. I mean, even if it is any of the Grand Fleet showing up for what could be coming along, I mean, like, they don't necessarily know that those are, like, evacuees from Egghead, and even if they did, I don't know if they necessarily would have helped them right off the bat beyond the fact of, we're being chased by the Marines, can you help us? I mean, I don't know exactly how that would go. Maybe it's Uta. Maybe this is how they're going to introduce Uta into the actual series of One Piece, is have her pop up here and attack a Marine vessel. Probably not. Yeah, I don't really know who else it could be. I mean, other Marines showing up and attacking Marines wouldn't make sense unless they want to bring in the Neo Marines. And even then, I don't think they would, because the Neo Marines aren't a real thing, as cool as Zephyr was. The Grand Fleet or the red-haired pirates, or even the Cross Guild, or what it could be. In regards to how Luffy got to the food machine, I just think someone gave him food to begin with, and then maybe they set, like, a breadcrumb trail of food to, like, make him roll to the food machine so he could eat more, so they don't have to keep bringing him food. That's a possibility. Luffy rolling to a food machine makes perfect sense in my opinion. It's like, oh, look, food. Oh, look, food. Oh, look, food. Following it all the way to the food machine. It's not. I don't really know who else could have helped Luffy. I don't think it was Kizaru, in all honesty, at this point anymore. I honestly really don't think that Kizaru would have made any form of a difference in that regard in trying to, like, give Luffy food or anything like that. But I think Kizaru has just kind of resigned himself to his fate of being the cog in the wheel, the cog in the machine at this point in time, for following the world government. He's like, I've made too many of these decisions and now I have to do it again. Because, yeah, I mean, yes, true, Fernando, you are correct. It could be Caribou, but that's like the same answer that we got in Wano, is that Caribou brought Luffy food. Luffy extorted food out of Caribou because it was in Caribou's best interest to help Luffy, or he can't leave the island. Is more how that went. Caribou didn't willingly give him food in that regard. And I mean, Caribou is the obvious answer there by a technicality, simply just because it happened at Wano and it could happen here. Caribou is somewhere on the island, or he's still hiding in his barrel and he's just hiding from the Marines. That's also a possibility. Maybe Caribou is hiding in his barrel and he, like, found a way to roll onto a Marine ship and he's going to like try to escape that way, that would actually be, no, I think that's giving Caribou too much credit if he tries to do that, because I don't know if he's smart enough to try to do that. I don't know if Caribou is smart enough to try to make his way onto a marine vessel inside of the barrel, or like trying to pose as a marine. I don't think he's smart enough to do that. I mean, that's the possibility there. In regards to maybe what might happen with Kuma, I think we might get like one more kind of thing with like Kuma and Bonnie. That would be good. Just to kind of have, you know, one other thing there. I mean, Kuma full on actually physically dying in this arc is going to make perfect sense given everything that we've now learned about him with his backstory and everything like that. I believe he would make that sacrifice, A, mostly for Bonnie, B, mostly to like help the Straw Hats and get Luffy out of there, get all the Straw Hats and Vegapunk off the island, since Vegapunk is his friend. He's probably met the other satellites, you know, like Lilith and, you know, all of them. I'm thinking Lilith and Edison might be able to make it off the island with Stella and the Straw Hats, but I also wouldn't be surprised if the other satellites, you know, Lilith and such, sacrifice themselves so Stella can get away, because they would be able to operate any weapons that would be on the island and be able to use them maybe against Kizaru and, you know, against Kizaru and Saturn. I made the comment in the video that since they're going to be starting the Buster Call, or they have started the Buster Call on the island, that depending on, because I don't think we know like the exact, since we don't know the exact dimensions of Egghead Island, we know that in the center right now is where Kizaru and Saturn are, and that there's a pretty good possibility that since they're really far from the coast, any of the cannonballs flying in from the coast and any lasers coming in from the coast coming from the pacifistas, those could cause problems for Kizaru and Saturn. I mean, Kizaru is a Logia, so like the cannonballs really probably won't do that much damage to him. Same thing with the lasers. He's made of lasers. Saturn might take some just damage from that, or like if they can knock him into buildings that are falling down anyway, that would at least deter him at times. I mean, they could trap Kizaru in a bubble the way they trapped Kaku in a bubble, but I don't know if Kizaru's going to, you know, let that happen. In regards to Kaku and Lucci and Zoro are fighting now. Kaku or Jinbei is going to show up and like break them up and be like, okay, boys, come on, back to your corners. Okay, come on, Zoro, we got to go. Leopard Man, you can decide if you want to come with us. If you stab anyone else, I'm throwing you into the ocean. I think Jinbei could handle Lucci just fine. He handled Who's Who very, very easily back in Wano and everything like that. So I think he'd be able to handle Lucci just fine if he had to do something with that. But then that's just like another person that fights Lucci. And I'm like, okay, Lucci, decide what you're going to do. Kaku might help the Straw Hats leave, and maybe he might go with them. I don't know where Kaku is going to go after that. I don't see him actually joining the Straw Hats as like a member. I don't think that would happen. In regards to that, I mean, like, I guess Kaku going with them isn't a problem in my opinion. I mean, if anything, I guess he could stay at Elbath when they get to Elbath. I really freaking hope they go to Elbath next. That is entirely what was set up with that. And had they picked the different route, had they picked the route Kid took, then Luffy and Shanks would be talking right now, probably partying and everything like that before something else happened. But and Robin would get to see Saul again, but he wouldn't have gotten this like abrupt warning from Vegapunk. But, oh yeah, Saul's still alive. Robin, what? Robin ends up on Elbath. First thing she does, where's the library? Actually, Robin would probably want to go to the library regardless of whether or not Saul was there, just because, I mean, like, the Giants of Elbath have been around for a long time, and given that their lifespan can be 200 to 300 years, give or take, you know, them having like this long cultural memory makes sense. Also, we know that Saul has the will of D, so he probably had, I don't even remember, how old was Saul? I think Saul was over 100, but I don't remember exactly how old he was when everything happened in Ohara, so it'd be plus 22 years at this point in time for how old he would be. I I still would like it if Olvia survived, but I don't think that happened. That would have been mentioned at the by this point by Vegapunk. Had Olvia survived, unless they were extra hiding that she survived. Although, brain tangent. So we know that the new giant warrior pirates, those that are Hybrudine and Road and Goldberg and all of them, that they were the giants that helped Saul get all of the books out of the lake, because we saw that in the little bitty flashback that we got with Vegapunk and Dragon, where they were getting all of the books out of the lake. So we know that at least they are somewhat familiar with Saul at this point in time. And now they have this connection to Luffy as well. But I don't know if they probably haven't made like this full connection there that like Robin was on Ohara, that Robin knows Saul. I mean, that's a possibility, but I don't know how much Saul would have necessarily communicated with them. Maybe it was just like Saul managed to survive what happened on Ohara because of what, Kuzan did, because of what Aokiji did with like freezing him. And then the fire helped him, thaw out. He still was very badly like frost burned and actually like burned from the fire. Obviously, that's why he's wrapped in bandages. And like he could be the man marked by flames. That's also a possibility. But there's the possibility that like, so he survived. Hopefully we'll get a better explanation of that one whenever Robin sees Saul again, that he survived. He made his way out of there. He looked through the island, so everything was in shatter. It was just destroyed. And he saw the lake, and he looked in the lake, and he saw that there were all of these books in the lake. And he's like, okay. Olivia, I don't know why I keep calling her Olivia, sorry. Olivia and the rest of the scholars, Clover and everything, they sacrificed themselves to try to protect these books by getting them out of the library and into the lake. Okay, these books at the very least, I need to try to preserve them. That would have probably been Saul's thought at the time, after he maybe found some way of bandaging himself up. Now, Ohara was in the West Blue. I am blanking on how the West Blue borders the Grand Line, in regards to bordering the Grand Line in regards to comparison to where it would be in regards to Elbath. But I think they're on the same side of the red line, where I think where the West Blue borders the New World. I think that's correct. I could be wrong on that. But if that's the case, then, I mean, that would be far easier for Saul to go, from the West Blue to the New World, find his way to Elbath, because he's like, well, I can't go to the Marines. They're the ones that did this to me and blew up the island. I don't know what pirates I can trust. The giants are probably my best bet, because they're not aligned with the world government as a whole. Yes, there's some giants that are obviously part of the Marines. We saw that with like Giant Jack and with a bunch of the other admiral or vice admirals and stuff like that we saw. But I don't think Saul would be like, oh yeah, all the giants are aligned with the Marines. No, they're not. But I mean, Saul finding his way to Elbath wouldn't necessarily be exceedingly hard. I mean, he might have some idea of where it is in the world, but like him making his way there and then maybe like pleading to the giants at the time, which King Odin and, Prince Loki or whatever the heck they end up naming, Prince Loki would have at least been, because Loki, I believe, was born the same year that Big Mom had her breakdown on Elbath, or temper tantrum. So that would have been 62 years ago, I think. And so he would be at least in his 60s, and we know that he was interested in Lola, and that's why she left and everything like that. So maybe it would have been Saul goes and appeals to Loki and be like, hey, I know you're not big fans of the outside world right now, but there's like this library that was destroyed, and can I have some giants to come and help me dig all these books out of this lake and maybe bring them back here to keep them safe? And maybe Loki was like, this seems like a way to mess with the outside world. Sure, because if he's like Loki, and if he's based off of like Loki as like the trickster god, as in like with Norse mythology, or even just like basing him a little bit off of like Loki from the Marvel movies and stuff like that, him wanting to mess with the Marines and mess with the outside world, because like, oh, these books were the reasons why, one of the reasons this place was blown up. Sure, we can bring them here. Let's even try to Buster call us. Um, and that would be one thing for how that could have happened. Um, and then like Saul would have, maybe it was like he's like, well, we'll ask some giants to volunteer, and like, Hyrudine and the others, they volunteered and they went with Saul to, back to the West Blue and back to Ahara, and they ended up, digging all of the books out of the lake and probably drying them out and maybe seeing what could be preserved from them at the very least. I mean, yes, books thrown in a lake are much more likely to survive than books that are left inside of a flaming building. But it depends on how long they were in the water and how clean the water was to begin with. I mean, the lake didn't look like it was polluted or anything like that, not like the water on Wano, that's for sure. But I mean, that would just be a bit of an interesting thing of like how Oda is going to explain that. Okay. I mentioned back in the chapter when we found out that Saul was alive, I had mentioned that I had started, that I had written the start of a fan fiction that I'm still working on. It's not published anywhere. Don't even trying to find it because I haven't published it or anything like that. I'm not ready to publish it. And I had made it in that Saul had survived, and I'd made it that Olvia had survived as well, but like somehow she managed to survive, and that Saul and Olvia managed to like get all the books out of the lake and everything like that. But that also what happened was I had made the comment because I'm like, okay, I need a better way to verify that like these books could survive getting dropped in a lake. I mean, the poneglyph that was in the tree, it probably survived, but it's probably just like covered in ash and debris and everything at this point in time. And what I had determined was like, okay, well, they have the tree, they have the giant tree of knowledge, and should that tree have any type of, obviously it's continued to grow even with having the library inside of it. And the thought that I had was like, well, maybe there is a way of having some type of like sap or something like that from the tree that they can use to like preserve the books by like, they go through and like painstakingly preserve each page inside of the books with like a layer of sap or something like that has like the sap in it and like kept them preserved or something like that. And then they can survive better being in the lake that way. They're more resistant to stuff. I mean, that makes sense. Like some archaeologists, given the fact that that tree was around for a very long time, for several thousand years, that maybe someone did that. Or some of those books, depending on how long. Well, okay, books can survive a lot, but it depends on how well they're preserved and how well they're taken care of. Because like we still have, because like there are copies of like the Gutenberg Bible from like the 1400s when like they were first printed on the first printing press that are still around today. You just have to be very careful whenever you're reading them, for anyone that owns them or museums that have them or that type of a thing. Same thing with like older copies of like other books and stuff like that. Just like, like, I mean, like the Dead Sea Scrolls, but those weren't preserved well. Those were kept in jars and then like harsh conditions, for heat and dryness and everything like that. But as examples, but I mean, having something like preserving the books and the pages and everything like that, that makes sense. As like an outside thing that can be like repeatedly done on the books to keep them in good condition. And of course, the books themselves may also be copies of books that were from maybe back in the Void Century. That's a possibility too. Did we ever figure out how the archaeologists were able to read the poneglyph, like how they learned to read the poneglyph in the first place? I can see there being that the poneglyph had been there on the island for a long time. Maybe since the Void Century, it ended up there where all the other poneglyphs ended up in their respective areas. But maybe there were books about how to read the poneglyphs, and then once the archaeologists knew how to read them, they destroyed the books so that way other people couldn't learn how to read them, or they kept them much more hidden. That's a possibility there as well. And so that's always a possibility there. But the thought that I had was like, okay, Saul manages to survive, gets to Elbath, asks for help, and then like, eventually what would become the new giant warrior pirates come with him back to O'Hara, and they start digging all the books out of the lake and lay them out, dry them out, take care of them. And then they take them all back to Elbath, which according to Vegapunk is where they are at this point in time. And Vegapunk has said that he has read a lot of them. Read either all or most of them. I don't remember if he gives an exact amount. And such, which of course, is his, curiosity needing to be, taken care of, needed to be sated. But, we'll see what happens there, however that ends up. So that's always a possibility for how that would have ended up. But, and, Robin probably would have wanted to go to the library the library on, Elbath anyway. I mean, I would think they would have a library. I would think that they would have a library there. I mean, yes, I know that they're a warrior culture, but their history is very important to them. And like, yes, they probably have a lot of like oral traditions of like passing down stories, like the story of like Dory and Broggy's duel for 100 years is going to end up somewhere as like a myth, 100 years down the line or 300 years down the line when Dory and Broggy are both gone. There's going to be like this myth of these two giants that spent 100 years dueling it out to the timing of a volcano on an island of dinosaurs. That already just sounds cool to begin with. So that's a possibility for, what could happen there. Hey, Brenda, pretty girl, my pretty girl. Yes, you are. I mean, that's a possibility for, how that story will end up happening. Usopp would embellish it if he ever ends up getting the chance. And of course, it's like, as a fan base, we want the Straw Hats to reunite with Dory and Broggy since Little Guard, it's been so long and everything. Like, get to see Oimo and Kashi again. Get to see Stanson again since they did help him escape the auction house and everything like that. Over 2 years ago at Sabaody. Same thing with like getting to see Hyrule again. But I don't know if the new giant warrior pirates would be on Elbath because they are part of Luffy's Grand Fleet, and Elbath kind of seems to be Shanks's territory at this point in time. So that's a possibility that Shanks may have like a bit of a thing with the new giant warrior pirates. That once he finds out, it's like, oh, you guys are part of Luffy's fleet now. Okay. And Elbath is where you are from, but Elbath is my territory, and you are technically part of a rival pirates fleet. But it's also Shanks, and Shanks would, of course, be a bit more lenient to people who are part of Luffy's crew, unless it's Bartolomeo who burned down his flag at an island that was part of Shanks' territory, and then forced them to buy Luffy merchandise. Although Shanks may have shown up at the island and been like, okay, I'll take a piece of each one of your merchandise, and then you're going to pay me to fix this village, and then you're going to pay for what happened to this village and everything like that. It's just like, yeah, I know you're captain. I'm aware of who he is. You still attacked my territory, and I need to teach you a lesson type of a thing. That would be something there. I apologize if you keep hearing clicking over here. I have another monitor over here that keeps just like clicking for whatever reason. I don't know. It's not even on. It shouldn't do any form of clicking. But I mean, Shanks and the new giant warrior pirates, like Hyrule and his crew, they may get along fine, and Shanks may be like, okay, you're part of Luffy's crew. Luffy's not my enemy, so that's okay. And Elbath is your home, and I'm not going to stop you from getting back to your home when I'm cool with most of the people that are on the island, type of a thing. Just as long as you don't cause trouble on Elbath, you're fine. And I think he would allow the new giant warrior pirates, Hyrule and his crew, to like go back and forth from Elbath because that is their home. And such. I don't think he would like hold anything against them just because they're part of Luffy's fleet. Now, if Shanks and Luffy were like at war with each other, fully at war with each other, I could understand Shanks not wanting to let the new giant warrior pirates go back to Elbath. That would make sense. But besides that, I can't think of a reason why he wouldn't allow them to go to the island. I mean, like, it is their home, and they personally have not done anything against Shanks, and Luffy personally has not done anything against Shanks in this regard. Um, I mean, Tontada are welcome at Dressrosa, but again, that's where they're from. That's their home, and the Tontadas, along with, the Dressrosa and royal family, are allies of Luffy, as much as they have to keep that, kind of secret from the world government type of a thing. I mean, that would be something there. Okay, let's go back to the egghead concept. Egghead, for what's going on there. I guess I've talked about like who could be showing up. We got Cross-Gerald, Red Hair, Grand Fleet. Those are about the most likely ones. Morgan's, I guess, is a possibility, but he wouldn't have been able to do that type of damage to the marine ship that we saw unless he has like unless a lot of his reporters and editors and everything like that are also like very highly trained, fighters or something like that. And as much as I think Vivi probably has been doing some training over the last 2 years to get stronger, I don't think Vivi would be able to destroy a marine ship on her own. And Wapol is too terrified to try to do that because he's a coward in that regard. So I don't see it being Morgan's being able to make that type of a decision. Although I think he might be at least interested in like maybe protecting the historians and everything else that are on the evacuation ship. That's a possibility. In regards to the Cross-Gerald, yeah, Crocodile maybe. I mean, Buggy might be okay with like wanting to save them. Mihawk would just be like, oh, look, a marine ship. Swing of the sword, and the marine ship is gone. And it's just like, the evacuation ship, thank you. We don't have any money. Mihawk, go. Just like leave them be, let them go. That would basically be what that type of interaction would happen there. I mean, yeah, we know the Revolutionary Army is based out of different places all over the world and has like headquarters in each of the different blues and in the Grand Line and in the New World and everything like that. But Baltico was destroyed. If we knew Baltico was still, well, it wasn't destroyed. It was raided by the Marines and Blackbeard and everything like that. If Baltico was still intact and if they had been on Baltico, I would for sure be fine with them saying that it's the Revolutionary Army that's on their way because Baltico was in the New World. So that would make perfect sense if they were still at Baltico, but they're not. They're at Kamabaka. They're at the Kamabaka Kingdom. They're there. They're on the other side of the Grand Line, on the other side of the Red Line. And as awesome as Dragon is, and having possibly whatever type of mythical zone devil fruit or weather devil fruit or whatever it is that he has, him being able to bring an entire group of the Revolutionary Army with him to follow where Kuma went seems a little unlikely. Now, I mean, there's the whole theory that, oh, Dragon's name is Dragon, and maybe he can turn into a dragon. Maybe he can turn into like a Quetzalcoatl, and that's why he can like control the wind. What do you think of that? Do you think that would make sense, Brenda? You think Dragon can turn into a dragon? Puppy girl. My good girl. My good girl. I love you. She a good girl. Yes, you are. You're my very good girl. Okay. Yes, we will snuggle when I'm done with this. I know. You're a silly girl. She's like, I will come over here and make you pet me more. Yep, you're very good at making me pet you more. But I mean, like if Dragon could turn into a dragon or is like a mythical zone of some kind that can like control the weather, I guess him being able to bring some of the revolutionaries with him would make sense. Like maybe bring Koala and Hack and maybe the other commanders with him. Maybe not Morley. Depends on what his weight limit is for like how many he could like carry or something like that. Like if he could turn into a Quetzalcoatl dragon, if Dragon could do that, that would be freaking awesome. That would be amazing. Thank you for the heart for the puppy, for Brenda. Thank you. She's a very good girl. But in regards to that, I don't think it's the revolutionaries. Also, we have no idea what direction they're coming from. We don't know what direction the evacuation ship left in, and we don't know exactly where some of these other islands are in relation to, you know, what else is going on. I mean, I guess like the Cross Guild trying to show up at Egghead might make some sense in the fact of like maybe Crocodile's like, okay, our next plan is we need to get a lot of information about what's on the different poneglyphs. So we need to really, so we need to try to find someone who maybe has these poneglyphs, or try to get a hold of Robin because she can read them and he knows that, but she's one of the very few people in the world who can read them. Sukeyaki being the other one on Wano, but Crocodile doesn't know about that. And as knowledgeable as Crocodile is about stuff, I don't think he would know about Wano being the place where the poneglyphs are from. I don't think he would know that. Or that that's where they were created or anything like that. Because like Robin had to be told that by, I think, Kinemon or by someone else who had been to Wano. The dog's back. She's chewing on her Bumblebee's stuffed animal. As in Bumblebee as in the Transformer Bumblebee. But I can't really think of who else could be showing up beyond like the obvious ones. And I don't think it's going to be a new player. We're up to 2 people watching. Cool. I don't think it's going to be like a new player and what's going on. I think it's definitely someone that we've seen before that's going to show up. I mean, like I guess it could be the man marked by flames that's showing up. But I don't like if the man marked by flames happens to be Saul, I don't think Saul is going to be like showing up at Egghead right now just for the heck of it. And I think he would be smart enough that if he sees a giant group of Marines around an island, he's going to leave and go the other way, go back to where he came from. That's possible too, but I don't think there's that. The fleet showing up or some of the Grand Fleet showing up would make sense. I mean, like Sai and Leo kind of can't go back to their homes now. Sai can't go back to Kano, and Leo can't go back to Dressrosa and Greenbit and everything like that kind of at this point in time. Whoever the second person is watching, if you are my mom, hi. If you're not, please comment. Well, actually, comment either way. I mean, it puts more comments in the chat. That's fine by me. If you wish and if you can, that's appreciated. But I really can't think of who else it would be for possibilities. I mean, like, yeah, coming up, I am going to have videos where I talk about, because I'm doing the Royals and Rulers videos that I'm going through. And I think the one that's supposed to come up this week is the Tontata Kingdom, I think. So I'll be talking about like Moshiri and her father and everything like that. But then I got to go into Zoe. Then I got to go into all the Zoe stuff and Zunesha and Inuarashi and Nekomamushi and everything like Inuarashi and Nekomamushi and everything there. So we'll see what happens with that. In regards to all of that stuff, and then after that, well, by technicality, the next ones after that would be like Totland / Big Mom and like the Germa 66 for the Germa Kingdom and the Vin Smokes and everything like that. When I do get to the Vin Smokes, Judge will get his own video. Reiju will probably get her own video, and then the 3 boys, just because I really don't necessarily care about them that much, will probably just have their own video altogether because they're almost always together. So there's not too much there that I really care about with that. And Sora, as much as I liked Sora for the bits that we saw of her in the flashback, barring us getting a lot more information about Sora, there's not really much else that I can say about Sora that I haven't already said in other videos that I did when I was doing all the couple videos and everything like that, a couple of years, or the other year or whatever, when I was doing all of them. Eventually, I'll get back to that whenever we get any more canon couples for me to talk about, but we haven't gotten to that yet. We haven't had any more yet for me to talk about. Are you trying to destroy that thing? Her is must be chewed. Must chew it. Must chew it. Mommy, I must chew this. It is toy for chewing. It's gonna fall off the bed, you silly dog. Right, no, it won't. I will swing it around and throw it. I love the dog. I love you, Brenda. Yes, I do. But I can't think of who else it could be that could do that. I keep coming back to like, who is that could show up at Egghead? And yeah, the answer for like whoever would give Luffy food is like Caribou, maybe, and then someone like, and then like Caribou led him to the food machine or something like that, or Caribou just like pushed him and Luffy rolled to the food machine. You threw that on the floor on purpose, didn't you? And then you did it again. Why are you throwing stuff? He's like, because I'm the baby and I'm allowed to throw things. There, now it's over there. What you gonna do now? 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 Silly girl. Well, yeah, my mom commented. Commented in the chat. That's not surprising. Hi. I know you're a good girl. So there's that whole fun bit there. With, however Luffy could have gotten to the food machine, rolled by Caribou, breadcrumbed there by someone else. I don't know. Not really anybody else that would make sense to show up at the island or that could be on the island at the moment that would help Luffy. I mean, York's trapped, and even if she wasn't, York wouldn't help them. Kaku's in the bubble. Lucci would really have no reason to help. Barring like somehow Shaka having like a backup body and having like done this to help Luffy, I mean, I guess that's a possibility. Lilith is still injured as far as we are aware. We have not seen Lilith, but we don't know exactly like the extent of what her devil fruit ability can do. Like, could she like heal herself if she gets like enough blood? Could she just do something else? And Vegapunk probably has like artificial blood somewhere on the island, and maybe she's able to drink that and that heals her or something, gives her enough stamina to be able to like heal herself if that's a possibility. I mean, Saturn can heal himself, and he's some type of devil spider bull thing or whatever. Isn't he? Or I'm a pit bull. Does that mean I have horns? No, you're not a demented spider scientist. Sure. Well, I was gonna say there's a Doc Ock reference in there somewhere if you follow Marvel, but Doc Ock is an octopus, not spider. So, and well, no, there are creepy versions of Spider-Man that are evil, so I guess that's a possibility too. If you want to make that reference. Yes, I know. You're a very good girl. She's like, I get pets. I'm a good girl. Yes, you are. But I mean, like, yeah, another Pythagoras or Shaka having backup bodies that they could download into might make sense for like being able to get Luffy food, maybe. All the other Straw Hats are accounted for at this point in time for like knowing where they are. At the moment, now that we saw where Robin was. And yeah, just I think I said my answer to that for like why Robin is like so heavily injured that she's like, having to be on like the hover stretcher, is that she just probably was like having to fight off, the Seraphim, fight off, the S Snake and S Bear and S Hawk and maybe S Shark, depending on stuff, had to fight them off while they were waiting for the other Straw Hats to show up to try to get to York. So she's probably just injured from having to deal with a bunch of them at the same time. I mean, we saw back at Wano how she did kind of exhaust herself fighting Black Maria, so it would make sense that she would have like a limit of what she can get to. And we saw her, Fleur Demonio and everything like that on Wano. But I don't think the Seraphim might warrant her having to turn herself into a giant devil again, into a giant horn-winged, bat-winged devil woman again. Although I don't want to think of what Saturn would do if he got his hands on Robin. I don't want to think about that. That's not a fun topic to think about. But I can't really think of what else could have happened. I mean, like, the scientists all got evacuated. The rest of the, people on Egghead got evacuated by Sentomaru and the pacifistas. So that's not really it. They're not on the island anymore unless someone hid. But even then, it's like that's introducing a whole new character. Okay. So when we're first introduced to Egghead Island, I think this happened in like the last one of the last 2 episodes. When they start interacting with Atlas and like all the holographic food, that Luffy is angry that it's not real, and then they get real food. That there's like that holographic woman that like Atlas kind of interacts with, and like high fives because of the light gloves. Is there a possibility that a hologram could have been turned on that concealed Luffy and then allowed someone to like move him to the food machine so he could eat and like do that? I mean, like, I don't think that would be that hard of a thing to do. I mean, they've been running around the island. They probably have video footage of them and they could do it that way. Plus, I don't know. I guess it would depend on who did that, who would have had the ability to do that. But holographic using that to try to like distract them from where Luffy was would make sense. But even then, it's like, okay, who would have been operating it? Again, it's like if Shaka has like a backup body that he downloaded into after he got shot by York, that would make sense that maybe he did that. You dropped your toy again, didn't you? Yeah, you did. You dropped it. I know, you're very cute. She's like, can you pick it up for me, Mommy? Oh, why are humans predisposed to fall for the puppy dog eyes? The big old puppy dog eyes. Because they make us feel bad. Well, not feel bad, but they're like, I want my toy. Yeah, I know. But I can't think of anything else for like what they would have done. I mean, like Oda probably has some like thing in his back pocket that he'll pull up and be like, this is the person that's actually on their way to Egghead Island. This is what happened here with that. And it's going to be like, oh my God, why didn't we think of that? I know there's lots of people that are like, it's Geen, it's, you know, the Don Krieg pirates or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure Don Krieg is dead. I don't want Geen to be dead, but he might be. But there's not really, it's just like the Big Mom pirates. I don't think so. Same thing with the Beast pirates. I mean, most of them were captured, and then after being captured, they were then like almost sucked dry of their nutrients by, you know, Green Bull. So that's not all that useful of a thing for them to be around. They're probably not all that useful as a fighting force right now. And King lost a wing, so he's kind of like, you know, up a creek without a paddle at that point in time. But I don't know. I would love it if like the S-Bear ended up going with them to like protect Bonnie. I would love that, since we know that Kuma's memories are like gone because the memory bubble got popped after Bonnie saw all the memories. I think it would make sense for the S-Bear to maybe have something click in it that would be like the, you know, the lineage factor, like the way that like S-Snake kind of like fell for Luffy very quickly, the way that Hancock did. That would make sense for like the S-Bear, because I don't think we've had S-Bear and Bonnie interact yet. Have we had S-Bear and Bonnie interact? I don't think so, because S-Bear was with CP0, it was with Lucci, Kaku, and Stussy when they showed up. Bonnie was not there when they attacked the ship, and then Stussy knocked out Kaku and Lucci, and then they dealt with S-Bear pretty easily there. And then we had York interact with the 3 Seraphim that were the Seraphim that were there, and give them the orders for what was going to happen. And then the Seraphim all went off. Bonnie was interacting with Vegapunk, and he went into the paw room, and she spent a whole bunch of time in the paw room pretty much all night long. while they were dealing with all the Seraphim. And then the Seraphim were trapped in the bubbles down in the same room where they had been holding the CP agents that had been from the different, 1 through 8 or whatever that had been coming in to investigate stuff. So they were being held down there. I don't know if the Seraphim have been released yet. That's the other thing. The Seraphim might still be, or at least those 4, because as Gecko or Bat, whatever they end up naming it, for Moria's one and Crocodile's one and Doflamingo's one, that they're all off doing something else. They're all off attacking other kingdoms or whatever who had been like in rebellion against the world government and the Marines and everything like that. And you dropped it again, didn't you? You dropped it again, didn't you? Silly little girl. Yes, I love you. You're a pretty girl. But so has Bonnie interacted with Esper? I don't think so. I don't think Bonnie's interacted with Esper. That might be a possibility that like something in Esper clicks because of the lineage factor from Kuma that clicks and is just like overrides everything else that's inside of his programming for like the command chip structure, just overrides all of that and makes it that Esper will protect Bonnie with its life. Regardless of any other orders it is given, it will follow Bonnie's orders. I don't think we've had Bonnie and Esper interact. Because she would have had a reaction to that, because she would recognize that it is supposed to be based off of her father. And I think that would have been a big moment that we would have seen had that happened already. I think I've probably brought up before, like other people have brought up the fact that like, oh, Esper could have Kuma's memories, could have the lineage factor, could affect that, could make that happen. And I perfectly buy that that could be something that happens. But it's the whole thing of like how they would align that with like having Esper and Bonnie interact. And that, I don't think that's happened yet. I do not think we have had Esper and Bonnie interact yet. Unless I'm just completely missing something and they have, and I'm just like, went out of my mind. I'm like, but I think that would have been like a very memorable moment because she interacted with the Pacifista Mark III when they were running away, when Luffy was like running away from it. She saw that. And then they have all the Pacifistas currently aiming at her and Kuma to try to knock them out of the air now that they're falling. But I can't think of what would have happened that would have been like Bonnie interacting with Esper. And that would have been like the best answer I could give you for if there is anything there. Same thing with like, I mean, like, I guess there would be like, I was trying to think if there's like an emotion, a person for each of the warlords that they could interact with that would elicit that type of an emotion out of them that would be like strong enough to like override each of like their command chip structures. For the Hancock, for S Snake, it was Luffy. Probably her sisters might do it too. Well, no, because she kind of interacted with Sandersonia and Marigold when they were on the island. I think S Snake interacted with them and it didn't do anything. It was Luffy that caused her to like, malfunction to a degree. Jimbei, S-Shark, if Fisher Tiger was still alive, I think it would be Fisher Tiger that would be able to make that happen there. Bonnie, Bonnie for Kuma Seraphim, for the Esper, that would be the main thing there. Would be like Bonnie would be the one that would override anything that was an Esper. That would be that. Crocodile, we don't know anyone that Crocodile cares about that could do that for like S-Croc, for like that clone. Same thing with, Mihawk for, S-Hawk. I can't think of who that would be for like, because Mihawk doesn't really have any, I mean, like the closest people we ever saw him interact with were Zoro and Perota. And unless they want to make it that Perota and Mihawk are actually a thing, which, okay, I'm fine with that, but unless they want to do that, I don't think Mihawk, like S-Hawk, would have anything that would be like an override to his system. Same thing with, okay, S-Bat / S-Gecko, whatever they end up naming Moria's clone. That's a possibility. For Perona might be one of those, because Perona and Moria basically have like a kind of a father-daughter relationship, and like, and she went to, Hachinosu, name of island of pirates, Hachinosu. She went there to try to save Moria. So that's the possibility there, that maybe she would be the one that would be able to override his Seraphim. That Perona would be the main thing there that could override his Seraphim. Could override that one. Jinbei, if it was S Shark, I mean, like, Fisher Tiger would be the answer there, because there's not really anyone else. I mean, like, I guess maybe getting angry at Arlong and attacking Arlong, but like, S Shark interacted with a bunch of the Straw Hats, and none of them elicited a type of override emotion the way that we saw happen with, S Snake and Luffy. You haven't seen that. Same thing with, I'm running through all the other warlords in my head. Doflamingo. For what could be like the override for S Flamingo. I'm like, I can't think of anyone that would be the override for S Flamingo. I mean, Law, out of anger, maybe. One of the other members of the Don Quixote family, of the pirates, maybe. Trouble, Diamante, Pika, maybe. Something from them might act as like some form of an override, because, and I went over this when I did both of Doflamingo's videos, when I was talking about him as, like, King of Dressrosa and everything like that, that he does legitimately care about those who have shown loyalty to him over all these years. All the ones who were, like, all part of his, specific army and everything like that. All the ones that were part of the crew, the family, he cared about them. Because they had shown loyalty to him, and because they had proved themselves to him and everything like that. He legitimately cared about them. He was upset when he found out that Virgo was probably dead. He probably would be upset when he found out that Monette was dead. Maybe not like to the point where he was like showing major emotions, but he would probably be upset about it. In that regard. But that was a reason why he was so cold when he didn't necessarily mind that he had to kill Rocinante, is because Rocinante betrayed him. The others did not betray him. They were loyal to him to the end. I mean, like, he might get a little upset with him if they fail at a mission, like the way that he was with Bellamy, but Bellamy wasn't like a part of the family. Bellamy was just this rich kid that left home, that showed up and just was like, hey, I want to fly your Jolly Roger and fly under your Jolly Roger. You got a problem with that or whatever? I really idolize you. And Doflamingo is just like, sure, fine, just never bring disgrace to the flag. And then Bellamy brought disgrace to the flag and everything like that. Doflamingo didn't have an emotional connection to Bellamy. He's just like, oh, you screwed up, and now I'm just going to punish you for it. If it had been something where, like, say, for example, had it been maybe Senor Pink that had been on Jaya and had this altercation with Luffy, I don't see why that would have happened in the first place, but still, like, take that into account. That if Bellamy had the same relationship with Doflamingo that, like, Doflamingo had with, like, the rest of the family, with the rest of his family, with his crew, then I could see Doflamingo, still being angry at Bellamy for the fact that he lost to Luffy very easily, literally in one hit, but he wouldn't have, like, made Bellamy necessarily try to, like, kill his own crew member, fight Sarkis and everything like that. I don't think that would have happened. So I can't think of anyone that would be like an emotional override for Doflamingo that would be the same way that, like, Luffy was an emotional override for S Snake. Bonnie and Kuma for S Bear, that would be it. That would probably be the only one. Maybe Dragon, maybe Ivankov, given that they have this, like, connection, it's friendship and everything like that, but not the same way. Not quite the same way. That Bonnie or Ginny, would Ginny still be alive? Ginny would be like that override there as well. Because, like, something in Kuma that is like this base instinct in Kuma that overrode anything else, anything for the shutdown switch, the kill switch that was inside of him from Vegapunk. That is what, he went all the way to Egghead Island because something told him that was where Bonnie was and she was in danger. And that's where he went. And we saw the aftermath of that. We're still seeing the aftermath of that. But And while he keeps like freezing up at times, he keeps protecting Bonnie because he like wrapped her into his arms and everything like that to like protect her from the lasers coming from the pacifistas. So there's something still there making him still run, but operational, but it's like on base instincts, on these just like little scraps of memory that are left, that these are important people to me, and therefore this is my important person, therefore I must protect them. Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and then I'm gonna finish up this tangent for this tangent on this limb, and then I think I'm gonna be done with this. So, there's a show that was on Sci-Fi that was called Warehouse 13. For Fernando, there's I don't know if that would have been something that ended up down in South America, if they have like a Spanish version of like the Sci-Fi channel. They probably do. I'm quite certain that they do, but it was a warehouse full of like strange objects that had powers from history and all over the world and everything like that. That was for some reason located in the middle of like the Badlands of South Dakota. Beautiful area, by the way. I've been there. But it was like this giant warehouse. It was like an infinite thing that could be as big as it wanted, as big as they needed, and they could house all these strange items there. And if you worked there, you were allowed to have one person in your life that you could tell about it, but only one person. And for a lot of people, it ended up being like their spouse that they would end up telling about. So that way they would at least have someone outside of the warehouse that they could tell about what was going on at the warehouse. But that person was like completely sworn to secrecy type of thing. Some cases it probably would have been a sibling or a best friend or a child, depending on certain circumstances, or a parent. But I kind of think that that would be something that like S Bear's override switch would be Bonnie, in that similar fashion, that like she is the only thing that would be able to outrank even like an order from Saturn at this point in time. And like that would be the most obvious one, but we'll just have to wait and see. So I did this for an hour, and the fact that I have two people in my chat right now, yes, one of them is my mother, but I have Fernando, so thank you, Fernando. Fernando Moranga, if I mispronounced your last name, I apologize. And I'm a dork, and I love music, and your name makes me think of the ABBA song Fernando. Okay. Makes me think of the song from ABBA called Fernando. I'm sorry, I'm a dork. I'm aware of this. But I would, so it's slightly more productive than my last live stream, and I'll probably do another one at some point. I don't know when, we'll see. And of course, earlier today, I had the review go up for the other Studio Ghibli movie. I think it was Howl's Moving Castle was the one that went up today. But that's what I have for the live stream. I thank you for, the ones who showed up to watch this live, and for anyone who watches it subsequently once it's just on the channel, once this is all done. So I thank you for that. I appreciate you talking with me in the comments, Fernando. That's very appreciated. So I've got to interact with someone in this regard, instead of just talking to myself or the dog. Not that I don't like talking to Brenda. She is a wonderful puppy girl. But I'm actually going to go downstairs and binge more anime and play Pokemon on my Switch, because those are what I do to relax right now. And then work on notes later for other videos. So I thank you. I hope you have nice weather down in Chile right now. We at least have nice weather here today, so that's awesome. And I hope that you have a good day, Fernando, and anyone else who ends up watching this in the aftermath. So I thank you. Bye. Brenda, can you say goodbye? Nope. Okay. Bye. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're having a lovely summer day down there. That's very nice to know, Fernando. Okay. Bye.